All right, welcome to Loft Presents. This is our very first episode ever. My name is Katie Cooke, and I'm here with Al Lacerda, who's going to be helping me out for the first one.
Yes, I will.
So, we're starting a podcast about bringing exposure to musicians and some student musicians in the area, and maybe even outside of the area. And the concept of this show is to talk about music, learn about people's um, genres and their experiences and how they came to be musicians and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a great concept. And the cool thing about it is it's a hybrid show. So yes, we're in the podcast suite now, and we're doing. This is where the interview portion will be conducted, but then there's a second side to this, right? So there's a whole nother side to this show where the artists get to perform live in the studio, to be able to showcase whatever skills that they have to the public, in a setting that will allow people to go back to it and reference that. So I think it's a good show concept, and I think it could potentially do a lot of good, because Bridgewater has a pretty not a lot of people realize that Bridgewater has a pretty thriving music culture. Um, so you are a business owner in town.
Yes.
You own the Music Loft. You just celebrated 5 years in business, which for a business owner is a milestone. Not a
Yeah.
lot of businesses make it. So why don't we talk a little bit about what the Music Loft is?
Yeah. So the Music Loft is a private lessons music studio. So we offer lessons on guitar, violin, viola, voice, ukulele, piano. We have a team of 7 instructors, and we just teach one-on-one lessons to the Bridgewater community and surrounding towns. And it started 5 years ago. Well, actually, October is the Music Loft's birthday, and I just belatedly celebrated the 5-year mark, which was really in October. But it started. I used to teach in the public schools. I taught like string orchestra, but I really wanted to do my own thing and start a small business, but also a space that was could provide like creative opportunities for students in kind of a non-traditional way. Like we have kids open mic nights and performance opportunities for kids to boost their self-confidence and while they're learning how to get better at their instruments, and also be able to like collaborate. Like a lot of times the teachers will jam with the students and stuff instead of just instruction the whole time. Like we try to allow space for kids to communicate through music and stuff. That's kind of what I believe makes the Music Loft unique because it's very it's very there's a culture there, which I'm
Right.
proud of.
Yeah, and I mean, I my musical talents don't go beyond listening to it. So I think one of the regrets that I have growing up was that I wasn't really exposed as much to music. I mean, we had basic stuff in school, but nothing that was real serious. It was kind of like a throwaway type thing back then. There wasn't any real serious effort put into it. I mean, I'm sure for some
Mhm.
who just have a knack for that stuff that they were able to pick up certain things, but generally, I think it was it just wasn't as readily available. So when I see the business that you've started in Bridgewater and all of the different things that you bring to the table, um, with that business, I think it's a good example of giving these kids an opportunity to kind of grow whatever musical talent that they have, and then now potentially showcase it, which is cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. Um, Now I met you. Um, I had met you once before, but I met you at the Summerfest event that we did, and you performed. David Buckley was there; he performed as well,
Yep.
and that was awesome. And then I learned more about how ingrained in kind of the musical scene you are locally. You're also a part of Music Alley,
Mhm.
which does great work here locally as well. So maybe we talk a little bit about that, about Music Alley and how that kind of works.
Yeah. So Friends of Music Alley is a nonprofit organization that um builds like a summer concert series that's free to the public, and just brings like a cultural experiences to the surrounding community. And I joined the board right when I opened the music loft, just around there because I heard about it and I was like, "What?" Because it's
Yeah.
like that makes sense,
Right up your
right up
alley.
my
Alley,
alley.
yeah.
Good one. Um, and so yeah, it's good. It's a good team of people that we meet throughout the year and just reach out to artists near and far to like come and perform in the summer. And it's a cool tradition and family. It's very kids come and families come and people of all ages, and we try to get different genres and have like a good collection of different styles of music throughout the summer months.
Yeah, it's a good mix.
Yeah.
It's a good mix, and I've been to a bunch of them. Um, and I know now, Paul from Black Hat is also a musician and loves Music Alley and loves having Music Alley, and I think it's official now that Music Alley will be back at Black Hat.
Yep.
So are we breaking news
We're
on your new show right now?
Yes.
Yeah, which is exciting because I think it's a good mix, and it really, the shows that have been done at Black Hat are really good, and I like the whole vibe of it. And then, working with Paul, to keep those kinds of things going, and then all the different offshoots that we're trying to put together for music specifically, and then trying to include music and new artists and create things that inject more musical culture into Bridgewater. I think it's great, and this is also an extension of that. You're
Yeah.
giving, like, as I explained to you when we were talking about how nervous you were to do this in the beginning before we hit the record button. I said that a lot of times you have as a new artist or a new group of artists trying to perform, you don't really, I mean, you start at the very bottom, you're trying to book gigs. You may be very talented, but there's not a lot of opportunity for people to see you unless they happen to pay for a ticket and
Mhm.
end up at your show. Other
Mhm.
than that, you're kind of, flying under the radar unless somebody just happens to
Yeah.
pick up on what you're doing. And I feel like that's kind of common. Am I wrong on that? Or, I mean,
Yeah.
it takes the right mix to get
Yeah.
to get going, right?
In the right time, in the right place, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So you've kind of found a way with doing this where you can not only have people get to know who these people are and what they do, but you're giving them an opportunity to perform. And then that is going to be put up for anybody to kind of reference. So if you're somebody who's um, somebody who's booking bands and you're looking for new talent, you got to go out and you got to find these people. And you're kind of creating this thing where they can come to your show and they can look at these musicians and they can
Mhm.
say, I like them. Let's book them, which
Mhm.
is just another thing to give them an outlet
Yeah.
to be able to perform, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's a cool concept. It's a cool idea. And it kind of fits. I feel like it fits your vibe pretty well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's, like, intimate too, which I think is cool.
Yeah. I mean, and today you get to perform a little bit today.
Yes.
Yeah. So um, I think it's cool. It's the first one. And I think it's gonna do well, and I think that it's something that we can build on and get better at. We have so many talented people in Bridgewater, and there's so many talented people that are working behind the scenes on this, to put it together and make it sound correct,
Mhm.
make it look correct.
Mhm.
So I feel like we're gonna be off to a good start. Um, and I mean, it seems like an exciting thing for you to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think at this point we will take a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, we'll get back into it.
Alright.
Sounds good?
Yes.
All right. And we're back. So before we broke, we did get into the Music Loft a little bit. We talked about your business. And you're not the only one that's over there. I know you have like a small group of instructors that are over there. So maybe you want to get into a little bit about them.
Yeah. So I have a team of 6 instructors plus myself, and I'll just kind of go through them, I guess.
Yeah, give them a nod.
So Dave Buckley, who we were talking about earlier,
Yep.
played with me at Summerfest.
Great guy.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're good friends. We've played and gigged together a lot. And I actually, over 10 years ago, had like a part-time job in Braintree Public Schools, where Dave is a full-time band director there. I met him there. He was actually my supervisor at the time.
Yeah.
Actually, this was maybe closer to like 14 years ago, but we kept in touch and like played together and stuff. And so he was actually the first teacher I asked to come on board. It was like me for a couple months, and then I like pulled him and begged him and
help
then
me.
help me, and he's been there ever since, and he's awesome. And
Yeah.
the kids love him, and he's like a monster piano player. So there's Dave, and he has like a also like a mandolin. He does like bluegrass mandolin stuff too, and writes his own. He's working on his own independent project too. But his like main background is pretty much like piano. So he teaches piano, and then there's Kiana Trinidad, who's my administrative assistant.
Yeah, I know her.
Yep, and she went to Bridgewater State.
Yep.
And initially, I was looking for administrative help, and she came on a couple years ago. Actually, it'll be 3 years in February, like now, which is almost March. But she started that as that. She still is my administrative assistant, but she's teaching voice now, and she's awesome at it.
Yeah.
And she started teaching voice like at the Music Loft, and she has like over 20 students there now, and they love her, and she's a good role model, and she has a lot of creative ideas, and she's really good at it.
Yeah, I've met her a couple times. She's great, and she also performs too. And I've heard her a bunch of times, and she's really good.
Yeah, maybe I'll probably see if I can get her on this podcast. Maybe.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah,
I think that would be great.
And then there's Norwood Pearson, who teaches guitar at the Music Loft. Also an old friend of mine, who we've done, various like bluegrass type gigs together. He's an insane guitar player and awesome teacher.
I feel like I need to take some guitar lessons now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Do it.
Yeah, my spare time.
Yeah. What spare time? So he's awesome. He started teaching there a few years ago as well. Guitar and a little bit of ukulele. And he also teaches full-time in the Braintree Public Schools with Dave. So this is like his side teaching job.
Yeah.
And then Vicki Lynch, she teaches piano. She has a big voice background. She's an awesome singer and musician, guitar, piano as well. And she is a big performer in the area. She does like wedding bands and stuff. And I think she's working on her own individual music too, I think, project. So that's Vicki. And then there's Michael Figueredo. I hope I said it right. I've known him forever. He actually lives down the street from me in Stoughton.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even know how did I meet him. We call him Fig. That's why I felt so weird being like, Michael Figueredo. We just call him Fig.
Yeah.
Like Fig Newton.
Yeah.
And he's a awesome guitar player, guitar teacher. He's been at the studio since right around when Dave started, so kind of close to the beginning as well. Yeah. He's great. Everyone's awesome.
That's awesome.
But there's one more. I do have.
Okay, one more.
Cooper McGuire.
Yeah.
Teaches voice and piano, and he joined the studio right. I feel like COVID's a good like timeline. I think it was like I don't know, 6 months into COVID or something like that. So what is that? 4 years ago, just about. Whatever.
It's all blur
it's
now.
all blur together.
Yeah.
But he's awesome. He's a great player, great singer. And everybody, we get along really well, and I'm lucky for that because that's important to me. Like the culture, like we all joke all the time, we're laughing all the time, and like
Yeah.
the kids, like I think the kids are into it. We always like doing silly stuff, and we've done a couple. We've collaborated too a little bit. The all seven of us, we've played some stuff together, but it's hard. We have such different schedules that
Yeah,
that's
that's always the hardest thing is like you have so many talented people that work in that place.
yeah
And to get everybody together at the same time is probably difficult because everybody's got multiple
gigs.
different things
Yeah,
going on. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean that you have kind of assembled like an all-star cast over there. Some very
yeah,
talented, kind people. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few of them, and yeah, I mean it's you probably couldn't get much better,
yeah,
or than what you have over at the Music Loft.
yeah,
They're all great people, and super talented. Like if you wanted to learn music, like that's the spot. Like
yeah,
those are the people. Like that's where you go. And I think a lot of people always want to. A lot of people's dream is to be able to pick up a guitar and play a guitar. Like I would love to be able to do that, right? And I feel like a lot of people do. And it's nice that you have a place right in Bridgewater where they could go and do that, or maybe work on their vocals, or maybe learn some piano. Like there's a lot of people who are very interested in that, and but a lot of them probably don't even know that they can do that right in the center of Bridgewater. Like that's actually a thing,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
got some of the best, most talented people right there to learn from.
yeah.
So I think it's important that people know that. I guess if I had a question for you, it would be, what do you find the most appealing about teaching? What do you love about teaching the most?
The most.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's a like a really human thing that the world is starting to lack. Like it's connecting with someone, no matter how old they are, what their skill level is, why they want to learn an instrument, like whatever their like reasoning is. It's just like such a circular. It's just this human connection thing, and
Right.
like it can't be replicated.
Right.
Like, and I think like people in like their soul, like people want to learn stuff, and people also want to teach stuff, and I think like people want to show each other how to do stuff, and like it just feels like sort of like I don't know, in my bones or something. And I like when I was telling you before, when I taught in the schools, I was confused because I only lasted like 5 years in the public. I taught in a few different districts, and I was always like, maybe I'll try a different town. And then suddenly I was like, you idiot! Like you just need to like
Yeah.
you would like to
Yeah.
teach, but you're not like it wasn't
Yeah.
like my jam because I like the personal, I like the one-on-one
Yeah.
stuff that you can customize and you can get to know someone.
And I mean, based on what I remember from music in school, it doesn't have that vibe.
Yeah.
It's more like of a restrictive, kind of like can I say it? Curriculum based format that they're trying to teach to a mass group of students, and
Yeah.
you don't really get that personal
Yeah.
one-on-one connection, which is kind of unfortunate because I feel like music, regardless of your background or who you are as a person, like there's something about music that, especially good music, that just connects people, and that's why whatever it is that I'm building over here, like I always want to include music because you can take anything that you're doing, any event, any situation, put a bunch of people there. If you add music, for whatever reason, it just changes the whole vibe. And I feel like that's where that connection you're talking about is. It's just music is a universal uniter. It like
Yeah.
brings people together, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah.
There's definitely something to be said for that, and I really enjoy watching the bands at Music Alley. I really enjoy trying to find ways to bring more music around, which is why I like what you're doing with this. I think it's cool. I think it's
Yeah.
cool. So, why don't we take another break, and then we come back. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that's going on and what the future looks like. Um, and we'll be
Cool.
back soon.
Cool.
We did have temperature.
Sometimes it's hard to know where to start when the cycle never stops. You're not alone. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
And we're back.
We are back.
How'd I do?
You did good. That was actually a good. That was a good opening. For those, I mean, they couldn't see during the commercial break, but we actually discussed how you were going to do that, and I think you nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
My
very
heart
good.
rate increased a little bit. Now it's
Yeah,
back down.
now you're back down. I see you kind of like leveling off
Yeah.
as we go through this thing. You're super tightened up in the beginning. Now you're like chilled.
Yeah.
It's all cool now.
So I was going to ask you about what you have coming up for events and things like that you've been organizing, Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, I mean, so along the same concepts of you doing this show is like showcasing artists, right? And I run a nonprofit in town called Fire for Effect Foundation, and we support veterans and first responder causes, right? When I started the foundation, I wanted it to be multifaceted, right? So yes, we can support veterans and first responders, but we can also rope in so many different things. So the goal was to find ways to benefit veterans and first responders by raising funds, but also at the same time create events for the community that they can enjoy. So like Bridgewater is kind of like, you have Music Alley, you have various other things that are sprinkled in, but other than Music Alley, there's really nothing super consistent going on. So I had been to Music Alley a couple times, and we talked about Paul a little bit from Black Hat. He's a big music guy too, and we started creating different ways to fulfill all those things that I laid out, like bring things to the community, support veterans and first responders, inject more culture really into the community, right? Build off of what's already there that people might not be aware of. The music scene in Bridgewater is a lot bigger than I think people realize.
Yeah.
Many of the artists come through Bridgewater at one point or another, whether it's through Music Alley or through their ties to you and the Music Loft. Like a lot of these artists have Bridgewater is kind of like that, almost like that highway system that you go through, and I don't think people realize that. So once I kind of understood that, I wanted to find ways to bolster that, to really like find ways to make it better, bigger, take what Music Alley is doing with creating these things at Black Hat where artists get to come and perform and people come watch them, and then make events that really can put more eyes on that. So we came up with the concept for Battle of the Bands. So Bridgewater Battle of the Bands, and I know you're probably going to be involved in this. And the concept is find bands that they don't have to be just from Bridgewater because that would be impossible, but semi-local, that come and they take part in Bridgewater Battle of the Bands. We're going to try and I think we have already booked some. We're looking at 14. They only play original music, right? There'll be judges that will vote on the winners. There'll be 2 winners of the Battle of the Bands, right? those two winners will move on to Summerfest, which is a concept that we started last year. So Summerfest is also an event to kind of open up summer where we have music. The two bands that win Battle of the Bands move on to Summerfest, and they play at Summerfest.
Cool.
The winner of Summerfest will move on to a 2-day music festival that we're putting together now called Thrive, that will be taking place the end of September in Bridgewater, which will be a major music festival with two stages. So the winner at Summerfest of this Battle of the Bands, based on their original music, will get a shot at the main stage at the Thrive Music Festival. The runner-up will play the side stage at the music festival. So it's like you're trying to create this culture where the artists can come and perform and then get a shot at a festival, you know, and hopefully, you know, you just hope that it takes off and that it does well, because we don't, all the funds that come in from these things that we're creating go right back out into the community, you know, and do a lot of good. So if we're able to pull these things off, that will give us the ability to do a lot of good in the town.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's an exciting concept. It's also a lot. It's a lot. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot. It's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of technical discussions. Paul has been working diligently over on his end, lighting, sound, stage, trash, bathrooms, all the little things that you wouldn't think about.
Yeah.
They pop up, right? So we had some practice with that last year, so we have a good idea of how to kind of function within this space in Bridgewater that we're actually creating. And yeah, we're going to go for it this year.
Yes.
And then, you know, we're going to continue to build off of that. You know, we want, it's going to be 2 days. It'll be, I believe, the 20th and the 21st of September, which is a Friday and a Saturday. We're looking at 14 bands total for the main stage, 12 for the side stage. We're looking to book national acts to close out Friday and Saturday night. And if it goes well, and we pull it off, which at this point it has to do well.
It will.
Yeah. It could really be a game changer for the whole area in terms of our ability to raise funds and support different organizations in town that further our mission statement, and also to give like platform to local artists. Like I just think I just think it's a good thing overall, because it's not just a one-sided thing. There's so many different aspects to it that are positive.
Yeah.
So.
And it's kind of like historic, Bridgewater hosting an outdoor giant music festival, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it really,
that's cool.
It's really cool. And, you know, when we came into this area over at Town River Landing, it was kind of overgrown and everything. And we brought everybody in. We brought in heavy equipment. We peeled it all back and cleaned it all up. And now we're getting ready in April to do new paving all through everything, permanent beer gardens. And then also building on that, most of our events are on Saturdays. But when we talk about the space itself, we're talking about injecting more infrastructure into the space, because we want to be able to have Monday nights in the park as well. So it's not just about these events that we're doing on these Saturdays. It's about Monday nights. You'll be able, through the summer season on Monday nights, you'll know that there's something going on at the park, and you can come down and you can listen to music, or we'll have movie nights. You can bring your family down. There'll be food trucks. There'll be a permanent beer garden. You got beer, wine, soda, all that stuff, and it's there for you. All you got to do is come down to the park and enjoy yourself. So again, just giving people a reason to stay in town, enjoy what the town has to offer, and I think that's kind of important. I think it's important.
Yeah, it's community building and.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this community building, like, that's really what it's all about. It's exposing people to things that they don't have right now, giving them something that they don't normally have, which is kind of like what you're doing with artists that they're starting out, and they might be so talented. They might have all the talent in the world, but they're just starting. They don't have the exposure. They're still trying to scrape along to get gigs booked and people to pay attention. But it's like you're giving them something that will get eyes on them potentially. Because people are gonna watch this. They're gonna watch the live performances. And if I do good on my end and it looks okay, people will watch it more.
Yeah.
But this is now something that's going to be permanently on your show is permanently on the YouTube, right? So this is something that can be shared and watched some more, and you never know what comes from that until you give people the opportunity to be seen. I mean, who knows what could come from it?
Yeah.
Maybe nothing, but maybe something.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing a good thing with this. I think it's cool. I like the concept. So why don't we get enough about me? Let's get back on to talking about you and put the spotlight on you because I know you love that so much. So I would like to know a little bit about, because I've heard you perform. You sing beautifully. Your guitar sounds beautiful. You're very skilled, very talented.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Al.
That's so much better. Yeah, good job. So I want to know a little bit about what your musical influences are. I'd like to hear about that.
Okay.
Where did all this start? Like, where does it come from? You didn't just suddenly pick up a guitar and start singing. Like, you had to have some sort of influence, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about my background a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, do that.
So, because I'm primarily a violinist, and that's, as a kid, I took violin lessons and loved it. Maybe I didn't love it all the time, but most of the time. And then I really got into it in high school, and I went to college for it and wanted to study it and go deep with it, and started playing mostly classical related gigs, wedding gigs and classical performances and stuff. And I also had done a lot of piano as a kid too, 10 years of piano, and I would dabble to keep the chops up to a degree. But then I was somewhere along the line, as a teenager, I was wanted to learn guitar and just add a third instrument. And just kind of I feel like I'm always kind of rotating violin, piano, guitar.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Learn
and I
something
the
else.
texture. I like the textures of all of them. But so violin's my main jam and what I've built my career off of, being a violin instructor and doing gigs like that, and I love it. And I switched from I don't really do anything classical anymore because I realized I didn't really like it that much. It got a little bit rigid as my personality started to change as you grow and you start to go a different way or whatever. And I was I don't really want to play classical music anymore. So I got really interested in bluegrass and improv and fiddle stuff and then rock stuff. And I have now I just only play that stuff, really.
Right.
And I teach some of my students the classical route. So it's important learning wise and the fundamentals of it.
Now, is that an important? Would you say that would be an important base to start off with, to understand that stuff, or does it really matter? I mean, I don't know anything about.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think with string playing, so violin, viola, cello, anything that has a bow, there's things that are traditional, the way the bow grip. There's a traditional classical bow grip, but it doesn't mean you have to play a classical style.
Right.
But I think what matters is the fundamentals of how you develop your tone, how you develop your ear, and that doesn't have to be classical genre at all. You could do Devil Went Down to Georgia and well, that's advanced, but you don't. The style of music doesn't matter. You just have to. The framework has to be based around the fundamentals of the instrument and how to develop, so that you can on your own, take off with it. But that is a good question. I usually encourage pop, rock, and fiddle stuff with my students because it's not old dead
mean-
white composers from the 16 to 1700s.
Yeah, they can
That's
actually,
becoming
like,
yeah.
I get that. And I always hear stories about like people that they can't read music. They don't know how to read or write music or any of that stuff, and they just kind of learn it on their own and pick up
Yeah.
over time
Yeah.
patterns and stuff. And
Yeah.
that kind of just blows my mind.
Well, I think that's another thing too. I think depending on what you want to do with it, you know, reading music is important if you want to like get hired to do all these certain types of gigs or whatever, like, or just to be able to read the language and sit with other people and let's all like I found the sheet music, let's all play it. Like that's a cool skill to have. And but it doesn't like there's so many people who just are ear based, and I think
Yeah.
that's more important because that's like your soul and like
Yeah, I think I would feel like learning the finite details of reading and writing music would be essential for somebody who's, say, like a studio musician, for example, because you have to be able to
read a chart and be
read a
able to
chart and do that. But outside of that, I mean, I kind of
yeah
feel like music is just
yeah
what you want it to be.
yeah
You know, so let me ask you this. So, what are you currently doing right now? Because every time I see you, I see a different band and maybe a different instrument in your hand. I mean, what do you have going on right now?
so my like main two things are so I'm desperately trying to finish an EP, or I say finish an EP that's been like years and years and years of like I have 6 original songs I've been working on. I'm gonna play some on the show in a bit, but I just like I'm busy with so much that I like can't seem to just finish it. But so I'm working on just an independent solo music project, which is just me, and it's vocals and piano, guitar, and violin, and then like
So this stuff hasn't been released yet. You haven't really.
right. Yes.
So you're
One day.
you're giving people a sneak
A sneak
preview today,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like something that I'm not really. I just want to kind of watch it unfold, and I just want to finish the project because it's like, I don't know, it's pretty personal, and to me it just feels like completing something that's been artistically fulfilling for me, and like also I've like learned a lot about myself in my writing. Like I really like songwriting now, and I, as a violin player, forever, like I just was sort of like not used to that type of not tapping into that at all. Like I
Right.
just was like a robot, like I'll play this and I'll play this and like
Yeah.
so
This
somewhere
is more
along-
fulfilling for you.
in a way yeah,
Yeah.
like along the line I just was like I want to like try to kind of what I was saying earlier with like my trio of like violin, piano, and guitar. I like those like my best friends, and I like want to like
you want to mix them
I
and
want to
match
mix them and match them, and
Yeah.
then like, and I like layers, and so the EP one day when if it's finished will feature like a lot of like mixed vocals. I like to harmonize with myself and do like a lot of layering and things like that. Yeah, but
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, so there's that. That's like my solo thing that's just chipping away at, and then I play in a band called the Poor Men. It's an Irish punk, like Celtic punk band,
Very cool.
and they're super fun. And I'm going on, I think it'll be almost 3 years with them, like this March. Yeah, or maybe it was February. But we play a lot like around Providence and Boston and New
Perfect
Bedford.
spot for a band like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and it's all
The right vibe.
yeah, it's like some traditional music, but like set to like a punk like vibe, and then kind of like a little bit of Dropkick Murphys.
You guys
and then-
have Instagram, right?
yeah,
You guys on socials,
yeah.
so people can find you on
The
socials.
Poor Men, like
Poor men.
pouring a beer.
Poor.
Yeah,
P-O-U-R.
POUR.
Got it.
Yeah, and we do like breweries and stuff like that, and we play a lot at the Black Rose in Boston, which is cool because that's like a really authentic Irish pub
Yeah.
right on Faneuil Hall, and
Yeah.
but it's like a mixture of banjo and mandolin and guitars and bass and violin and mixed vocals, and it's wicked fun, like high energy.
Yeah.
And like, so when I like joined, Rick, the lead singer, contacted me on like Facebook or something, and I was like, like I've never done anything like this.
Yeah. It was your vibe.
Yeah, and I was like super into it. 'Cause you could take like, I could do solos and stuff, and there's a lot of freedom. That's fun, and I don't know. It's like feels very like organic and like in the moment all the time, and it's just like very. I don't know how to explain it actually, but
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's really
It's that,
fun.
well, it sounds like you like to mix and match different genres and different
Yeah.
styles, and like
Yeah.
that's your vibe. Like
Yeah.
not stuck to one thing.
Yeah.
Not stuck to like a certain way of doing things, kind of being able to have the freedom to
Yeah.
kind of move back and forth between things,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the vibe I get from you, is that you like to have that kind of musical freedom to just mix
Yeah.
and match,
Yeah.
which is cool. And it's also cool that they're going to be able to get to see you sing some of these songs you've been working on
Yeah.
that are yet to be released.
Yes.
So they get a little sneak peek. And it was, it's cool to be able to kind of, and people are probably wondering, what are you doing here? That's a good question. I'd like to answer that. This is the first episode. So I'm here to kind of like get her through the first one,
Yeah. I
and
was
then,
scared.
yeah, you're fine. It's just, it's one of those things where like you have a concept, you have an idea, and you just got to go do it. And then once you get through the first one, so I was your guide,
Yeah.
and now you've made it, right? And now now you get to bring people on that you have, more musical things in common with, that you can actually have a discussion about music stuff. You can't have that discussion with me.
I don't know.
It's not.
I think I disagree.
I mean, I can talk about what things sound like. I can't talk to you about what it means to, try to book a gig, or load in, load out, or how to tune an instrument, or what my vibe is, or what my playing style is. Like, those conversations can't happen. But going forward, it's going to be cool because you're basically giving people an introduction to these different artists. Like, they get to listen to you have a conversation with them about those things, like where they came from, what they're up to, what their influences are, all those different things that you don't get normally. They'll get by watching you have that conversation. And then the kicker to that is they get to actually see what they have. They get to actually see them perform. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I really do like that a lot. I like the idea. So it was awesome for me to be able to be on the first one with you.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing all of them. I know I will see all of them because I have to edit all of them. But yeah, I really am looking forward to this. And I think you're going to be able to do a lot of cool things with this. I really
Same.
do. And as it goes, it'll get better and better, and you'll get more comfortable,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I hope you're a little more comfortable now that you've kind of
Yes.
talked it out. But
For sure.
yeah, so I think it's cool, and I'm looking forward now to the next part of this show, which is the unique part. Like, it's not just an interview format. There's actually a live performance part of it as well. So I think now we'll take a break,
Cool.
and then when we come back, we're gonna get to see you perform,
Cool.
and you get to showcase why it is that you are so good at teaching music.
Oh, well, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
All right, we'll be back.
This is what the future of local TV could be if we don't act now. Local access television is the connection to your local community, but its future is in danger. Without legislative action on how it's funded, local TV will inevitably fade away. If we don't act now, an invaluable source of local programming will become extinct. We stand to lose one of the only sources of free speech media, one which is equitable and accessible to all. Local TV keeps you connected, informed, and entertained. Our neighbors are the faces of local TV. You are the voices of the community, so let's continue to be heard. We need you to act now. Save our stations. Call your state representative and state senator and urge them to support House Bill H-74 and Senate Bill S-34. For more information, visit fatv.org/SOS.
All right, and we're back. I'm going to play some original music, and this first song that I'm going to play is called "The Clown." I started writing it a few years ago, and it is meant to have a lot of strings in it. As I was mentioning, I'm a violin player, and when the strings aren't happening, I'll be doing oohs and ahs. But I hope you like it. She lives inside mirrors, hasn't been out once. Sometimes you'd hear her cry through the cracks of the frames of the house. You asked to see my feathers every time I tried to fly. And there's no water in this well anymore, and nobody knows why. But go and run and hide for a little while, 'cause you're afraid of anyone who sees you in the dark. Ooh. I painted her a window, but it's only in my mind. She's trying to crawl out of it, out from the inside. So is it all just a long and a bad dream, or did you ever even try to fly away? Your head back in your hands. Stop trying to make sense of your life after all. Put your head back in your hands. Forget the promises of your life after all. Your head back in your hands. It's all nonsense anyway. Life's a dream after all. Life's a dream after all. Thanks for listening.
I'm Alexander DeLucia. I'm the Director of Trails and Recreation Management for the Appalachian Mountain Club. I've been working for AMC since May of 2001. I've worked on so many projects all throughout the National Forest in New Hampshire, but all throughout AMC's region in northern Maine and down in the Mid-Atlantic. My mom has been able to experience some of that with me, which has been great.
We used to go up to the top of Sleeping Giant.
Oh yeah,
in
Connecticut. Yeah.
So, and you were little. You were like 5 or 6.
My mom has spent nights with me at tent sites in the Mahoosucs. My mom has been on a number of hut trips throughout the White Mountains. My father has multiple sclerosis. His experience with my work is all through photos. You know, that's how he gets to see my work, is when I'm back and I'm showing him photos on my phone or on my laptop. And every time it's like I feel like he sees the photos, but doesn't really understand, like without having been there and experienced it. When I started working in the Whites, it's like we drove to the top of Mount Washington. So like we've tried to show
Exactly.
but still hasn't been like in the middle of the woods or like seen the trail projects. that
No,
we do.
never.
Yeah. The Cardigan Mountain All-Persons Trail is a half-a-mile trail. It's an out and back that meets Forest Service accessibility standards, which means that it is a hard-packed surface, almost no obstructions that would allow, you know, any type of mobility device to travel on the surface, or individuals with a varying degree of abilities. We had a crew of 6 people working on this project for 12 weeks each season. And then the equivalent of like tens of thousands of dollars in volunteer time. There's opportunity to stop all throughout the trail, and throughout your entire experience on the trail, you're hearing the water, you're seeing some of the largest ash trees that we still have in New Hampshire. So this was one of the first projects that my dad has been seeing photos of throughout the construction process over last summer. Getting my dad out on the trail today was, you know, like a conversation we've had for 2 years about him coming out and getting to experience this trail. And it was just nice to see just how easy it is to park and to get right on the trail, get a chance to actually tangibly experience the work that I do. And so I think it's pretty awesome. All Persons Trail projects are critical to AMC's mission in engaging, you know, everybody in the outdoors. And trails like the Cardigan All Persons Trail are one of many accessible trail projects that AMC is working on across our region to provide, you know, more universal accessibility to the outdoors for everybody. And so we want families and older individuals, people with mobility challenges, to be able to still get out and experience the woods and the water and trees and boulders and to connect a little bit with nature. And, you know, All Persons Trail provide that opportunity to get out and explore for people of any ability, any experience level. It's here for you and it's here for everybody.
Welcome back. I'm going to do one more song. The song is called Seagull Song. And it's sort of like a dream-like song telling a story from the perspective of a seagull looking down on kind of a tragic story. So this is Seagull Song. Everyone's home for the winter, but I see someone at the top, waiting to jump, waiting to die. The park's been closed for a while. An old lover watches by the water, throwing stones in frozen stares, waiting to jump, waiting can get there if there's time. I saw everything and nothing at once, and I'm feeling a little strange. Is this the place at the end of the world? And I don't remember how to change. Ooh, la, da, da, da. Is this the place at the end of the world? And I'm feeling kinda strange. I've come a ways to sit beside you, sharing words within the clouds, waiting to jump, waiting to die. He said, no, I'm just trying to fly. He said, no, I'm just trying to fly. No, I'm just trying to fly. All right, thank you so much for listening and being a part of the very first episode of Music Loft Presents. Hope you'll stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks again.